Hey guys, welcome back. We finally finished our UR portion of the what the pics say Wordle-style image puzzle game, and we can finally move on to the logic, which is going to be, I think, a lot more fun. I mean, I enjoyed this part of it, and I thought I'd give you a bit of an overview of the backend we're using. So at the very beginning, I mentioned that we're using a boilerplate that I put together, and part of that boilerplate, I've built in a backend with Firebase that ships with it. So out of the box, we've got authentication, a database, we've got storage for images, we've got deployments, hosting, all that stuff. And I'll just give you a bit of an overview quickly. So in terms of deployment, and environments, we've got three environments basically. We've got a local environment that just runs the database and authentication, all that locally using Firebase emulators, and that's just great because it's a lot faster than interacting with a live remote database. And if we don't have internet connection, it doesn't matter. We can still carry on developing. So whether you're on an island in Bali or whatever, and the internet goes down, you can still build your app. We also have a staging environment, which is essentially connected to our develop branch. So anything that gets committed to the develop branch is going to get automatically deployed to our staging environment. And you can see here, we've basically our previous commits, or all the commits really, have been deployed. We've done linting and testing to make sure it's all good. We've deployed it, and we've even deployed it to Sentry just to make sure we can catch errors and manage releases in Sentry that way. So our deployment is basically deploying our Firestore rules, our functions, which are like our backend edge functions, API calls, our hosting, which at the moment just includes the app. But if you hadn't deleted the website folder like I did, it would also deploy the website, which is just a nice landing page. And then it also deploys our storage for us, storage rules. So that'll happen automatically on develop. But on master, we we keep that our production or live environment, and there's only been one commit merged here so far, and that would have failed. But generally, any pull request that goes into master now, we will run a release action, which will create a new release, like version 1.1 or 2.00, and it just follows semantic release versioning, and it does that automatically. So we take all the guesswork out of versioning. It just does it. And then once it's created a release, we can then go and manually deploy to production whenever we're ready. So those are our three environments, and that's all pretty much happens after a short little a setup session, which took me about an hour to set this entire project up. And so pretty cool. I think now I can show you how to spin this up. And we've got our app running here, but to get our backend going, which basically our functions folder is essentially, once we spin this up, is going to include like authentications, database storage, all that stuff out of the box. So this is just going to run the Firebase emulators, and let's just give it some time. And then once they're running, our app will automatically connect to the emulators, and we can go and interact with data from our Firebase. So we got our authentication emulator, Firestore emulator, which is our database, and then storage, which we still need to enable for this project, functions like our API calls, a bunch of other cool things. But for us, we only need the authentication one, the Firestore one, and the storage and functions. So these four over here, nothing you have to do. It'll all run out of the box already. So for authentication, any users we create will be added here, and any data we create in the database will be reflected here. So that's all good. Let us, I think, let us start with fetching some data, because once we hit this button, we need to go and fetch the puzzle. And even before we do that, we need to authenticate, because we don't want randoms outside of this app interacting with our database. We want them to be authenticated within the app, and at the same time, we don't want to block our users' flow at all. We just want to, anyone who comes here must just land on this page and be able to use it, but we authenticate them in an anonymous way, so no emails needed. So let's go see how we can do that. I'll open an app folder, and basically the authentication is going to happen on the puzzle level, where we're going to need our puzzle data. So we'll only fetch this if the user is authenticated. And so how do we go and do that? Let's go see. We have an auth domain that's currently just getting the auth user, listening to auth state changes, and I think it is updating our auth user query, which will make sense in a moment. So to actually authenticate our user, we're going to need to create a little function here, and it might help to go check out the docs. So let's go have a look at the docs, not the console. We just want to figure out how do we authenticate anonymously in a web app. And I believe it is over there. Cool, so we've got to do a bunch of these steps. We have to enable anonymous auth. Let's just see if we need to do it here. Yeah, I don't think we need it here, but we may need to do it in the remote. So let's go check it out. Staging, authentication, and we probably need to enable it there. Boom. Okay. So it's enabled for our remote, and I suspect we don't need it in our local emulator. What else do we need to do? It's just a small, simple function, so let's go and create that. We're gonna call it sign in anonymously. We will get auth. Okay, wait. Is that synchronous, asynchronous? We'll go const auth equals, I'm just adapting this, we can actually just remove this. Await get auth. Okay. And then we'll go then sign in anonymously. Okay, so then we just go await sign in anonymously, which we need to get from Firebase auth, and let's call it Firebase sign in anonymously, because it's just conflicting with our app name. Argument for auth is not provided. Cool, can do that. And I think that's all we need. Just make sure. Yep, I don't think we need anything else.